call meeting. It is April 3rd at 11:32 a.m. All members of the Town Council, Vice Mayor Murphy, Council Member Shamp, Council Member Hossafrost, Council Member Butcher, Town Manager, all the council members are appearing virtually. Town Manager Hernstadt is in Town Hall, as is Town Clerk Michelle Mayer. Town Attorney Mr. Herron is also appearing virtually. So the purpose of calling this meeting is to put before you a declaration of emergency regulations number 4. This puts our number 2 declaration of emergency regulations for the public. This all has to do with hotels and vacation rentals, accommodations, to create more consistency with the governor's order. Does everybody now have the blue line, red line document?
Yes.
Yes.
So the blue line is additions, red line are deletions. So on page 1 of the document, you see that the declaration of emergency regulations number 4 as opposed to number 2. March 29th is changed to April 3rd. On page 2, if you go down to the first blue whereas clause, all of these whereas clauses are simply putting our declaration with the same wording that the governor has in his. John, stop me if I'm incorrect on anything I say.
Go on.
At the bottom of the page, you will, and for the public, I'm sorry you can't see this. We'll have it published online so that you will be able to see it. At the very bottom of the page, you see a red line, and then you see just that the governor of Florida issued with his executive order. On page 3, you have at the very top 3 new whereas clauses, all to incorporate the governor's order, including the provisions in the Miami-Dade County order that were attached to the governor's order. You see then a red line of section and replaced with sections 252.38 and 25246. In the next whereas clause, it repeats those sections of the Florida statutes. Last 2 paragraphs are new whereas clauses, again, for consistency with the governor's order.
Before you go into the ordered section, I have a preliminary question for John.
Go ahead, Mr.
Were these new orders written after the governor issued his first order or his second order? I heard he issued a second order at like 6:30 last night.
The most recent order relating to this issue, he issued, as you pointed out, late at night. There's 2091 and 2092. Both are referenced in declaration number 4. The only difference, or what Executive Order 20-92 did, was strike out some language that was in his paragraph 4 that talked about.
John, I read them both, so I know what the differences are. My question was as to timing. Did you write these changes after his second order? That was my question.
I mean, I literally was working on what you have before you up till 15 minutes, 10 minutes before the meeting.
Okay.
Roxanne, this order in front of you also reflects not only what the governor wrote, but what the governor said yesterday, which further clarified that section 4.
Well, and that was going to be my next question. I understand that the governor then talked about his order, and from what I gather, he said it doesn't mean what it seems to say, which I find very strange.
I can tell you that what the governor said has been, which essentially is that local governments, not just the state government, may in fact issue stricter rules than his, not lighter rules than his. That was confirmed through several resources yesterday, including Mayor Ruane through the Florida League of Cities. This morning I spoke with Senator Benaquisto, and that has been confirmed that was in fact his intent.
But when his words say something different, the words override what you say later orally. The words of the order are what are in effect. So I'm struggling with this.
Well, I expect, and in the conversations I have had with my peers across the state, including with the League of Cities, is that we're all very hopeful, and we expect that the governor will issue a further executive order clarifying that and making it clear that what he has said is, or what he intends is, that his declaration or his executive order 20-91 is the floor, not the ceiling. And that's just using his words. And that in fact, as he has stated, that local governments can adopt more restrictive regulations. With all that said, from a practical standpoint, the document before you is consistent with what the governor has said so far as it relates specifically to essential services. The only thing that we have done, or that we're proposing to do, is tailor the executive order to Fort Myers Beach. And according to the governor, we can do that. And I'm the first to say, and I think all of you all will agree, we're in uncharted territory here as we go through and we deal with this pandemic. And it is very fluid, I've been communicating with a number of different resources, including other city attorneys across the state, the League of Cities, and what you have before you is based upon what I believe the most up-to-date information that we have available, and is consistent with the intent and purpose of Executive Order 2091 and 2092 of the governor.
Thank you, John.
And his subsequent statements.
Roger?
Roger is waving his hand.
I see it.
Yes, I just want to be clear for the record that late yesterday, the governor issued 2 new executive orders, not relating to this specific subject, but also relating to the coronavirus concerns. Executive Order 20-93 deals with the Department of Economic Opportunity and their reemployment assistance program. And Executive Order 2094 is an order that provides temporary relief for foreclosures or evictions. So I wasn't sure when Roxanne started talking whether she was relating to those.
No, that's not what I'm talking
But I just wanted to be clear for the record. There were 2 new executive orders, which I distributed to the council late yesterday, that are really germane to this specific conversation.
Okay, everybody on the same page now? Okay, I'll keep going. We're on page 4 of the red line, blue line document. So at this point, this goes into the now therefore it be ordered section. And I'm just going to go through this and then I'll read it so we can clear any questions before I read it to the public. So in that first paragraph, you see that all is eliminated and effective. The statutes are indicated here. Let's go down to paragraph or section 2. You see the clarifications there, striking through and then additions. Now, section 3 is where this begins to enumerate the exceptions to the rule for accommodations. It talks about healthcare. We said healthcare professionals in a very broad sense. The governor's order, which includes the Miami-Dade provisions, enumerates them specifically, and that's what we have done here, is putting the specific, very particular, so it goes from page 4 to 3/4 of the page down page 5, where each person, each entity is listed individually. Then you can see in the next paragraph that 2 has now changed to 4, 3 to 5. Then on page 6, simply adding that wording, the emergency declaration. Page 7 changes the changes the adoption date to the 3rd of April as opposed to the 30th of March.
Madam Chairman, I'll move approval of the Declaration of Emergency Regulations number 4, amending the Declaration of Emergency Regulations number 2 as amended.
I'm going to read this for people because they don't have it. Okay, is there a second for that motion? Right, the second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
may I suggest that you read from the clean version?
Yes, sir. That's what I'm planned on doing.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go. Declaration. Anybody stop me if you need me to. Declaration of Emergency Regulations number 4, amending Declaration of Emergency Regulations number 2. COVID-19 state of emergency, April 3rd, 2020. Whereas novel coronavirus disease does everybody agree we don't need to do the whereases? They're consistent
Right.
with our other orders. I'm going to skip that because it's 3 pages, okay?
Okay.
Well, I
Yeah,
don't have a problem with that. However, I would tell the public that they should read the entirety because there are some new.
I'm going to read the
whereas
new ones,
clauses.
John.
Okay,
I'm going to read
sorry.
the new ones. On page 2, there are 3 new whereas clauses. Whereas on March 1st, 2020, the governor issued executive order number 20-51, directing the state health officer and surgeon general to declare a public health emergency due to the discovery of COVID-19 in Florida. Whereas on March 9th, 2020, the governor of Florida issued executive order number 20-52, declaring a state of emergency for the state of Florida related to COVID-19 novel coronavirus. And whereas due to the intensity of COVID-19 and other hotspots in the nation, the governor of Florida has imposed additional screening measures for travelers departing from hotspots. The executive orders 2020-80 and 2020-82. And when we go to page 3, we also have new whereas clauses. Whereas the President of the United States has extended the CDC's nationwide social distancing guidelines through the end of the month, April 2020. And whereas the Governor of Florida issued executive orders number 20-91 and 20-92, instituting a statewide safer at home guidelines and ordering all persons in Florida to limit their movements and personal interactions outside of their home, only those necessary to obtain or provide essential services or conduct essential activities. And whereas essential services means and encompasses the list detailed by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security in its guidance on the essential critical infrastructure workforce, the version 2 of March 28th, 2020, and any subsequent lists published, and also include those businesses and activities designated by Executive Order 2089, and a list propounded by Miami-Dade County in multiple orders. And whereas Miami-Dade County currently lists hotels and commercial lodging establishments as an essential service, but with significant restrictions as set forth herein. the bottom of the page, you have two more new whereas clauses. Whereas on March 30th, 2020, the Fort Myers Beach Town Council adopted emergency declaration number 2, attached here too is Exhibit A, which closed all hotels, motels, and other public lodging establishments and set forth therein. Whereas in the interest of protecting the health, safety, and welfare of the residents and visitors of the town of Fort Myers Beach, and in order to meet the minimum requirements of the governor of the state of Florida's executive orders 2091 and 2092, the town council amends emergency declaration number 2 to read as set forth herein. Now we're to the ordered sections. Effective March 30th, 2020, all parties engaged in the rental of public lodging establishments as defined in State Statute 509.013-4A, Florida statutes, operation as a recreational vehicle park as defined in State Statute 513.0111, Florida statutes, and any vacation and timeshare accommodations as defined in Statute 721.051, Florida statutes engaged in rentals or occupancy of less than 30 days shall A, cancel all existing reservations and not extend existing stays, nor accept new guests or new reservations for the duration of this declaration. B, any guests of such accommodations that have checked in as of 11:59 p.m. Monday, March 30th, may remain for the duration of their stay. 2, this closure order includes single-family or multifamily homes, condominiums, timeshares, or vacation rentals, and any other place of public accommodation for lodging, including any bed and breakfast, resort housing, inn, hotel, motel, recreational vehicle park, or other establishment engaged in rentals or transient occupancy of less than 30 days. This closure does not apply to the rental of transient occupancy of any public lodging establishments, recreational vehicle park, or vacation and timeshare accommodations to the following individuals' verifiable evidence as their status as A, healthcare professionals providing COVID-19 related healthcare services to the town or its residents and visitors. The public, this is the section where we're enumerating the particulars of this for people who can stay in hotels and other accommodations. B, first responders providing COVID-19 services to the town or its residents and visitors. C, National Guard members providing COVID-19 related services to the town or its residents and visitors. D, law enforcement officers providing COVID-19 related services to the town and its residents and visitors. E, state or federal government employees providing COVID-19 related services to the town and its residents and visitors. F, patients of a healthcare facility in Lee County seeking healthcare services related to COVID-19. G, families of patients listed in F. H, journalists reporting on COVID-19 related issues to the town, in the town. I, others responding to the COVID-19 pandemic to assist the town or its residents and visitors. J, displaced town employees, residents, or visitors. A, town visitors unable to return to their home due to COVID-19 impacts on travel. L, town residents who must vacate their homes due to exigent circumstances, such as fire or flood. M, town residents utilizing hotels as transitional living arrangements. N, town residents sheltering in hotels due to domestic violence. O, public lodging employees, service providers, and contractors. So let me just go to this. 4, 5, and 6 are all the same. This emergency declaration will be effective immediately and stay in effect for 90 days. And you have the adopted this third day of April 2020 by the town council. If you notice, we went back to our original date so that 90 days is already ticking. And that's that. There's a motion and a second. I'm going to ask for your discussion and then we'll take public comment. Ray, do you have any comments on this?
No.
Bruce, do you have anything?
Yeah, I just have a question about the 90 days. Just a second. Okay, because in page, at the bottom of page 2, it says where the governor issued Executive Order 2087 ordering blah, 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 prohibiting the making of new reservations or bookings and accepting new guests for check-in for the duration of Executive Order 2087. The minor recollection is his order expires at the end of April, correct?
That is correct.
So the fact that he's expiring at the end of April and we're saying this, the duration of his order, but then at the bottom we say 90 days, is that a conflict?
That's where we have the ability to keep our order in place because we are allowed to be more stringent, and we couldn't say, for example, 28 days or 2 weeks, but we can say something broader. John, do you have a comment on that?
No, that is consistent, and I'm just so we understand. I'm reading here a quote from Governor DeSantis at his news conference yesterday evening, where he said his new order merely set a floor, and you can't go below that. Adding that if local governments wanted to close a running trail, for example, they can do so. So the governor has indicated and stated publicly that the 2 executive orders that he has entered on Safer at Home are the floor, and we can go and can be more restrictive. So in accordance with the minimum requirements that he's established, we did provide for hotels to stay open to the extent that they are providing accommodations to what has been defined or commonly referred to as essential lodgers, which was the list enumerated in the executive in our order. So the 90 days we can do the 90 days.
While we're talking about the time amount, I did get an email from someone I assume is in the business who said that if they were counting the 90 days correctly, it was going to end at a bad time for the 4th of July weekend, and asked that we make it 88 days, Friday, June 26th, so that rentals could be open for the changeover that they normally do on Saturdays in time for the July 4th weekend. I don't know if anybody else got that email or not.
If I did, I haven't read it, but let's, Roxanne, as we did in the last meeting, if we'll let that be public comment when we call for it, okay?
Well, I just thought it was something we could discuss. To me, it doesn't make a big difference between 90 days and 88 days. If we wanted to change the date of the order right now, I just wanted to bring it up.
Okay. Joanne?
Yes, on page 5.
Page 5.
I'm wondering on some of these enumerated exceptions.
Yes.
I'm wondering why we would have F, patients of a healthcare facility in Lee County seeking healthcare services related to COVID-19 when we have no services within our community. Why would we bring a patient with COVID-19 into our community, and why would we be required to do so when we have no healthcare services for that on this island?
Good question, and certainly we can delete that. I mean, there were two other categories listed in the original order, or bootstrapped into the original order by virtue of the Miami-Dade County orders, and that was pilots, airline pilots, and for the same reason, I felt that was not necessary to include them. And then there was a kind of catch-all, anyone else type of category, which I felt was covered. One regarding town residents and exigent circumstances. It was just like any other town resident who is.
Yes, we didn't need a catch-all.
We didn't need that. So up to you all. We can delete it.
Does anyone else feel as Joanne does? Roxanne?
I guess I'm assuming that if it becomes necessary for hotels to be taken over and used as medical facilities, that the governor is going to, or the county would have to issue some order indicating that. And I would think that there are far more hotels closer to the hospitals than there are in the town of Fort Myers Beach.
So would you remove F and G?
It would seem to make sense to me, and if it would turn out that they're needed, the county or the governor could order us to do it anyway. So,
okay, Ray, would you remove F and G? F and G.
Yes.
Bruce, would you remove those two?
I don't know. I don't see a problem with having G, families of patients listed. You just have to change G to say that there are families of patients that are in the healthcare facilities in Lee County. Because,
I guess to Roxanne's point, Bruce, there are lots of hotels available. They don't necessarily need to come to the beach.
well, when you say lots of hotels, I don't know. Maybe lots of hotels have closed and there's only one open within 5 miles of Lee Health. I mean, you're very close. Lee Health is not that far from Fort Myers Beach.
Okay. Well, I agree with Joanne and Roxanne and Ray that we should remove F and G. I'd like to bring up one other clause.
I'm sorry. I wasn't done either, if you don't mind, but you go first.
I'm not done either.
Okay, Joanne?
Do you want to go back to Roxanne, since Roxanne was before?
Roxanne, do you have other clauses here?
My question is regarding the mooring field. There's been a lot of controversy about that. I understand we were asking people to leave, and I spoke to Roger about that, and the agreement was that no one would be forced to leave until Monday's council meeting, where the council could discuss it. We have people out there that are, in essence, full-time residents. They are registered voters from the mooring field, and that's where they live. So I'm concerned about this order, whether they're included, they're not included. Will the town council on Monday have to modify this order if they want to let people stay in the mooring field? John,
Roger's been treating
when you wrote it?
Treating the mooring field as an accommodation. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, my understanding in my brief conversations with Councilmember Husserfrost, as well as with the manager, is that that's really being dealt with separately along the lines of park closures and the closures of the town's facilities. I do not believe, unless you decide to include it or somehow deal with it in this order, that it's included here. It's not covered. We don't mention it one way or the other. I do believe that in one of the executive orders that the Miami-Dade County adopted, they do list as essential services marinas and similar type facilities.
Your interpretation is that it is not included in this order, and should we decide to allow them to stay on Monday, we do not need to amend this order.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Roxanne, are you finished?
Why don't we
Hold on,
just...
Ray. Hold on. Roxanne, are you finished?
Yes, with this issue, with this order, yes.
Okay, Ray, I'm going to come back to you. Joanne?
My other concerns were let's see, HIJ, displaced town employees and residents or visitors. Why is the word visitors in there?
That was the one I was going to bring up.
I understand town employees and residents, but I don't understand visitors. That would imply that we're happy to take people displaced from other places to our island, and I don't see that.
Does everyone agree to remove the word visitors from J? I agree to remove visitors.
I'm fine with
I
that.
agree.
Sure.
Okay?
And then
Visitors.
I guess for K, how do you define somebody being unable to return to their home during impacts on travel? I mean, obviously travel's impacted, but airlines are still running and cars still run. So how is it that that would be required?
Joanne, the way I look at it is that things could change overnight, and tomorrow people may not be able to return to their homes because of lack of flights, or the car's broken down and there's no mechanics open to fix it. There's a myriad of possibilities that I see that make this necessary.
An alternative would be to potentially delete that language now, and if the circumstances change as they may, we can always add it in the future if that situation is, as explained by Councilmember Haas-Frost, presents itself.
I'd like to stop amending these things so often, so I'd rather leave it in.
With all good intentions. Mr. Murphy?
I don't have any problem leaving that in. The other item I was going to talk about, I think, has been resolved already. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so is the consensus to leave K in?
Yes.
Yes.
Bruce?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Right. And then the last one, or M, what are transitional living arrangements? How is that defined?
John?
I think it's the way that I've interpreted that is, people who are moving from one location to another, and maybe the home or the apartment isn't currently available, and they're staying in a hotel or they just purchased a home and the house isn't available or the closing hasn't taken place. That's how I interpret that language.
So should we further define this to make it clear, or?
It's how I understood this. Is anyone else unclear on M?
I don't have a problem with it as it is.
I don't either.
Bruce?
No problem.
Okay. And then the last one would be the final one, public lodging employees, service providers, and contractors. Wouldn't that be Fort Myers, in the town of Fort Myers Beach? Or?
Their employees may not live in the town, but they may be staying there to paint or do repairs, or I don't think we need that.
I agree.
I would leave it as.
Okay, and then the final, sorry.
I was just going to say, in O, if you said Fort Myers Beach, public lodging employees, service providers, and contractors, meaning that they are working on the beach.
I'm fine
I
with
think
that.
that's what you meant.
Yes.
That is what I meant to add.
Okay, I'm fine with that. Bruce, are you?
Yes.
Roxanne and Ray?
I think it could be confusing to say that someone could be excluded because they don't live on the beach.
No, that's not saying that you have to live here. It's
I
saying that
agree
you are.
it doesn't say that, but to me, it makes it more confusing.
Okay with it.
Okay.
Move it on.
You're okay?
Okay, and then the last thing would be, should we address the mooring field right now to make it, or is that too big a change?
Let's leave the mooring field off the topic for the moment, because
Very good.
it's not held in this. We'll discuss that afterwards.
Very good, then I'm
I'm just
done.
gonna put. Okay, Ray, do you
I'm
have
done,
it?
Madam Mayor, thank you.
Thank
No,
you.
that's the one I was going to address earlier, was about the mooring field. I mean, we don't have to lay that in the new council's lap. We can decide that today, right now.
That's fine, and we'll do that afterwards.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I had been discussing this with people who live in the mooring field and have relayed to them that that is the meeting at which it will be discussed. They are preparing to present their comment for that meeting, not this meeting. They were promised it would be discussed at Monday's meeting.
Promised by whom, Rexanne?
Me,
Promised by whom?
by
Okay,
me.
now wait, whoa. We'll discuss the mooring field when we're completing this. Bruce, do you have anything to add?
No.
John or Roger, do you have anything to add?
I just want to be sure on that one that you were talking about with the public lodging employees, that staying as written?
No, sir. It's going to read Fort Myers Beach Public Lodging Employees.
Okay,
Service
thank you.
providers and contractors. Letter J eliminates the last word visitors,
I had that,
and
just that
and-
one. Oh, I wasn't sure
okay.
about.
and F and G are eliminated entirely. Okay. I'm going to ask now for public comment. Michelle, do you have any emails? And procedurally, just
Mayor,
so
I do.
people know, but just so people know who are watching, the rules of engagement here require us to take public comment prior to a vote. So go ahead, Michelle.
Okay, I have received 3. First is from Ginger Weber. Permitted beach groomers need to be allowed to rake the beach once a week during this time. Landscaping/lawn services are considered essential businesses. We would be doing this with 0 contact with anyone other than the one person on the tractor. We need to keep the private beaches clean, so when we do open them back, there will not be an issue there. Even though the beaches are closed, they still need to be raked and maintained.
Michelle, I'm going to stop you with that one. It's not relative to the motion that's on the floor. I've just made a note. We'll add it to the list after mooring fields. Do you have someone else?
I do. This is from a woman named Susan Locke, L-O-C-K-E.
Yes,
I would
ma'am.
appreciate it if the council will respond to this question. Where during the March 29 Declaration of Emergency Regulations number 2, it was ordered by the mayor and council members that for a period of 90 days through the end of June, all parties engaged in the rental of public lodging establishments were to cancel existing reservations and only allow guests that had checked in as of 11:50 p.m. Monday, March 30, 2020, to remain for the duration of their stay, but to not extend their stay. Now, the governor of Florida has issued a shelter-in-place order until April 30th. I would like to know if the council will consider updating their March 29 declaration to allow those guests now in Fort Myers Beach to remain in their current public lodging establishment until at least April 30th, and to also provide for a further extension to a future date that the governor may extend his shelter-in-place order for the state of Florida. Thank you.
Okay, we can address that afterwards. Is there
And
any
I have
other
another
Michelle?
one. This is from BBHAYEK@jtt.net. I am an out-of-state homeowner who has property at Fort Myers Beach. Is my family allowed to travel to Fort Myers Beach to stay in our home during the 90-day period? I have also been asked by a neighbor if they can stay in our home for 4 days while their home is being tented during the 90-day period. There will be no money exchanging hands. I am just trying to help out an elderly neighbor. I ask these questions as I am looking for direction, clarification, and approval from the city council and mayor, as I know how it all works in neighborhoods and government. An individual has to watch their backs. Please let me know if this is approved by the city council and mayor. Thank you, Barb Hayek. That completes.
That's an easy question to answer. Roger, could you answer that question for the listener?
Yes, I absolutely don't see an issue with their neighbor using their house while their house is being worked on. I'll stand
And
corrected.
property owners are permitted to come to their property.
Property
that
owners
correct?
are permitted to come to their property. That's correct under the current order that's being, as well as the order that's being proposed that's being discussed today.
Of course, if they're coming from a state that has a stay-in-place order in effect, it's probably ill-advised, but okay.
And Madam Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
that property being single-family or multifamily homes that they own year-round compared to a timeshare where you only own 1 week or something. So we need to be clear. We need to be clear about that.
Yes.
That it would be something that they do own for the entire year.
Yes, you are.
If I may, Mayor and council members, so everyone is clear that's listening. The new order, the new declaration is tied to and prohibits very specifically, transient stays. That is what the governor's intention in the Safer at Home emergency or executive order that he issued is intended to stop, is the people going back and forth, only essential travel, and so anything under 30 days, this prohibits that if it's a transient occupancy, as that term is defined under state law, which is a stay of 30 days or less for remuneration.
Thank you, John. Amy, I'd like you to bring in our guests who are in the, oh my goodness, look at this. This is fantastic. Okay, so Amy, would you please mute all of our guests until we call on them?
Madam Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So John, just to be clear, letting the person stay, their neighbor stay in the house for 4 days, do you see an issue with that?
No, in fact, I see that very specifically as the exigent circumstance situation that's carved out in Declaration number 4.
Okay, and just to be clear, the family member who might be staying in someone's residence for less than 30 days, coming in to stay in someone's residence?
Sorry?
A family member coming in to stay in my vacant residence less than 30 days, is that prohibited under this transient occupation?
To the extent that they may be subject to their own stay at declaration, yeah, they would. But otherwise, if not, then they would be able to come into a single family home that's not up for rental.
Can I clarify that then? So anyone who owns a second home can have their any relative they want come stay in their home, even though that's not the owner of the home?
Well, if it's for an occupancy of less than 30 days, then the order could be interpreted to say no. The governor's order and what we're trying to meet, those minimum requirements, is related to occupancy of transient occupancy, and making sure that we're consistent with what the governor has said, that hotels are an essential service to the extent that they provide accommodations to essential lodgers. Anything else that you all want to limit, you are free to do so based upon what the governor has said, that this is the minimum. And that's what we're trying to do, is establish the minimum.
If I could please ask anyone who is now on the screen to please mute yourself until you're called on, because it creates some feedback. If you could please, and if you don't know where well, this person over here in this corner, she knows where everything is. Okay, that's good. Okay, I'm going to begin by taking public comment, and I'm going to, ma'am, I'm going to take your public comment. You're down here right below Roger. It says Daniel Morse. If you would please, so we can unmute you, and if you would please say your name for the record, and then tell us what you have to say. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you. My name is Meredith Morse. We are in Michigan, and my parents, who are in their 80s, are down in Fort Myers Beach. and have been renting since March 1st. Their rental agreement goes until April 14th. The children are very concerned with my parents because there are underlying health issues. My mom has multiple sclerosis and my father has heart disease. And we, with the shelter in place, having it be the state of Florida, they were told that they're not allowed to stay until the end of the month of April, even though the owners said they could, and they're very concerned because they have a do not fly risk because of their health conditions. They have stayed sheltered essentially the entire time. They only go out for the senior days for the food, but we are very concerned about them coming back here now because they're not allowed to, number one, fly because of health conditions, number two, because of the health conditions, to get up and leave, and they have been 6 weeks in Florida at this point. We're just at a conundrum on what is the rental company?
Everybody froze up.
Distinctive Rentals is saying they can't.
Distinctive Rental Properties specifically said they had to, not able to do it.
I'm sorry?
Distinctive Rental Properties is a third-party management company.
Yes, we know them well. That's Amy and Rick Lowry.
All right. Unfortunately, they were fairly rude, but that's neither here nor there. But they've instructed us that they cannot stay.
Okay, because
Mayor,
the
I don't know
current,
who's speaking, excuse me.
it's Meredith Morse is speaking.
Oh, someone
Michelle.
else was speaking.
Oh,
Yeah, that's my husband, Daniel Morse.
That was your,
We're
okay, so
together.
Meredith and Daniel Morse are speaking. Okay, so Meredith, we're going to we'll address your question here afterwards. Is that all you have to tell us?
Yes, we just want to see if they are able to stay through the month because of the restrictions of health and we can't fly and we can't
Thank
get
you.
there to get them.
Thanks, Meredith.
Thank you.
Roger, could you go ahead and address her question?
Well, as I the existing Declaration 2 and proposed Declaration 4, that your existing term can't be extended, but John may have some thoughts on this.
Mr. Herron, do you have any thoughts on this?
Give me a moment.
We'll come back to it, John. We'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Just remember this, okay? Meredith, if you'll mute your button again, we'll come back to you.
Could I make a suggestion? She's really not making public comment on our.
I got it.
Could we just give her the phone number of Roger to call later?
Yes, that'd be great. It's a great idea. Meredith,
765-0202.
765, Meredith, write down 765-0202, extension 1100.
Area code 239.
Yes, area code 239. Thanks, Meredith.
You know, to
Okay.
me, this falls under item K. Town visitors unable to return to their home due to COVID-19 impacts on travel.
I wouldn't disagree with you, Bruce, but let's let that one go for a moment. Okay, so thanks, Meredith. I'm now going to go to Jackie Lisak. Jackie, you're on the screen twice, so I don't know which one to talk to you on, but Amy, if you could unmute Jackie Lisak, please. Or Jackie, if you hear me. There's a little bit of a delay, so we'll just wait here a moment. Okay, I'll come back to Jackie Lisak. Amy, we have a caller at 463-6000. Could we unmute that person, please? Hello, telephone caller, 463-6000. If you could tell us your name for the record, please. Hello, person on the phone at 463-6000.
Sounds like a business.
Is there anybody on that line? Okay. Okay, Amy, they've muted themselves. All right. So, Amy, could you unmute Bob, please? Bob, can you hear us? Because Bob is connecting to audio.
It's been saying that for like 20 minutes.
Okay, so Bob's having a problem on his end. Amy, let's go to, well, iPhone 2 is also connecting. Let's go to iPad 6, please. iPad iPad 6. I don't know who you are. That's all I see is iPad 6. Could you identify yourself for the record, please, and tell us what you have to say? Whoever is in the box right underneath Joanne. Hello?
Down there.
iPad 6.
You can see that, so.
Okay. I do not see anyone else other than people. Oh, okay. Go to iPhone 2, Amy.
iPhone 2?
iPhone 2 just, they just went off.
Chief Love is,
Yeah, I bet this.
Yes, but he has nothing to say. He's just there for questions. Okay, we've got somebody over here that says owner. It's a blurry screen, but maybe they can hear us. The person who's in the box underneath Roger Hernstadt, can you hear me?
Just so you know, people are in boxes in different places on different screens.
Right. They're under John Heron on the TV.
On mine,
Okay.
he's under Ray.
Okay, the person who has lines all over their screen, it says owner. Is anyone there? Okay. So, Amy, can we try Jackie Lisak again? Jackie Lisak?
Unmuted.
Jackie Lisak? Jackie Lisak? Okay, Jackie Lisak, final call. All right, so I've touched base here with everyone. Right, so shall we try the telephone call again at 463-6000? Number is familiar to me. Hello, telephone caller. Do you have public comment? Okay, thank you, Amy. If you could take everyone away now. Miss Meredith, you're going to call Roger, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Oh, 463-6000 is the sandpaper. Okay.
it's the Best Western.
Well, it's the Pink Shell or Best Western. Well, for whatever reason, they're not.
It's probably Tim Malbon. You said he was going to be on.
Well, okay.
Hope we can't get him.
All right. Well, we couldn't get him. All right.
Go on.
So let's come back now to the council. We have a motion and we have a second with the amendments that have been made, and I'll just stipulate those again for the record. Under the section of now therefore it be ordered, on page 4, we've eliminated item F and G. On page 5, we have eliminated the word under J, visitors. And in O, we have added to the beginning of the sentence, Fort Myers Beach public lodging employees, service providers, and contractors. And that is the only changes that have been made.
If I could,
Madam Chair, as the motion maker, I agree to those amendments to
Thank
the
you.
motion.
Thank you. Yes, Roxanne?
I had brought up earlier that I had input from somebody asking for aid.
Yes, I was just getting there because that's the last piece there. Is there an inclination from anyone to Rexanne, do you agree to move that? Is that what you're asking, or are you just asking on behalf of the person?
Well, it seems to make sense to me that normally the check-in day is Saturday, and it will certainly make things easier if this turns out to be the actual time. To me, 88 days versus 90 days doesn't make that great amount of difference. So
I agree with you.
Okay, so do you
I
want
will agree to that as well.
Okay, do you want 88 days, or do you want to put in a date specific? Whatever that date is.
If you put in a date specific, it just makes it cleaner for everyone rather than everyone having to get their hand out and their calculator.
What is that date, Rexanne? Do you know?
I have lost my email.
June 26th, you said a while ago.
I think it was June 26th.
Has everybody agreed to change the 90-day?
June,
The 26th is a Friday.
Yeah, June 27th is the Saturday.
Right,
Yeah.
they wanted it to expire as of midnight on June 26th so that the Saturday, they could take reservations for the Saturday for when people come in.
Perfect.
Has everyone agreed to June 26th as a date specific in the order as opposed to 90 days?
Yes.
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 It all could be.
Yes,
moved,
and
I agree with you for now.
I'm just hopeful that things are good enough that we can do that.
That's out of our hands right now.
It is out of our hands.
Is there any other discussion on the motion? Does anyone wish for me to read this in its entirety again, or
Oh.
are you clear with the action?
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
And,
So
and
there's-
I will second the motion with the amendments as discussed.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any further discussion?
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I already made the changes and I'll forward that on to the clerk.
Thank you very much. I'm going to make a roll call vote. Mr. Murphy, your vote is the maker of the motion.
Aye.
Roxanne.
Aye.
Bruce.
Yes.
Aye.
And I vote as well. The motion carries unanimously 5-0. Thank you all very much. I'd like to now briefly go to the two items that were raised earlier. First is the mooring field. Roxanne, I'd like to start with your discussion on that, please.
Okay, what I was trying to say before was that I was in communication with more than one member of the mooring field. I had discussed this with Roger, who had indicated to me that he thought the best way to deal with it was to let people stay, and that this would be discussed at the Monday meeting. This representation was made to those folks, and I gave them instructions about how to present public comment for that meeting, not today. So I feel that I put my word on the line with them, and although we might discuss it today, I don't think it's fair to act on it today, because as you noticed, none of them were making any public comment about it. They're waiting for the Monday meeting.
Aye.
That's right.
Councilmember Hasselfrost, we could save them all a bunch of anxiety. I have a feeling that there's more than two people that are in agreement with you here on this council right now. We can save all of them a lot of anxiety and us a lot of trouble if we're going to be doing this again virtually next Monday by deciding this matter right now. And,
That's assuming that it goes the way they want it to.
well, I have,
They weren't-
as I said, I believe that there are two other people that agree with your position here right
And
now.
it sounds like the sunshine law has been violated.
No, come on. Oh, no, wait. Hold on.
No, ma'am.
Ray,
No.
Ray,
Any of us,
Rexanne, you know, just like Ray knows, because you've had conversations with people. So there's two people right there. So let's not jump to any silly.
There's no conversation.
Ray,
No. Excuse me. There's no conversation. We all got the same email from Catherine Light from the advisory committee. That's what I'm basing my opinion on at this moment. I haven't spoken with anybody about this matter. No one.
Thank you, Ray. Bruce, do you have a comment on the mooring field?
I'm for letting the people that are residents of the mooring field stay there.
You've just put an interesting clause there, residents of the mooring field versus visitors to the mooring field.
I thought we were talking about residents.
Okay, did you mean to?
This is very complicated and has lots of different layers to it.
Sound very complicated to me.
Okay, all right, I'll mute you both. We'll mute you. Joanne, do you have any comments?
Yes, I have a question. Since the services for the mooring field are provided by a land-based provider, and what is the status of the willingness of the land-based provider to stay open for the mooring field? I think that's an essential question, and our ability to provide the pump out.
Roger?
We were going to treat, and again, look, the reason the mooring field is not in the order is because that's you telling me to keep or close the parks open or keep some facilities open. So it doesn't have to be in the order. It's really an instruction to staff. So I think the council took the appropriate action by not putting it in the order. So let's start with that. Now, what we did is because the prior order with people who are in RVs, we felt that the circumstances were very similar. And we were starting to get people coming into our mooring field from other mooring fields that were being closed. So we were going to apply the same criteria. Council Hossafras got in touch with me and said that there's some concerns. There's some individuals who basically feel they live in the mooring field. And I said, to be fair to them and to be fair to the council, we would extend everybody through April 7th, which would allow, I believe that's the date, so that the members of council would react to that staff interpretation to get to, I'm just going to calendar to check the date real quick. Yes, the Tuesday, so that would allow the council to take up the matter on the 6th. So the people whose contracts were ending, for example, on March 30th were extended through April 7th, to allow for that to happen. We, in terms of following the prior example, people who have mooring field contracts that run through April or May or June or whatever, we were going to honor those contracts as written. We're also not going to accept any new people because we were getting an influx of people, as I said, from other mooring fields that were being closed, other government entities throughout the state, Key West by example. That's the current status of the matter. Since we have clients who would be staying till beyond that date, we have not heard from Matanzas that they were not going to serve those clients. We will reluctantly have to have face-to-face contact with those people to some extent as a result of the pump-out operations, although we may go to, based on council's ultimate decision on this answer, we may go to a situation where we tell them they have to be off their boat when we do their pump-out, minimize interactions between them and our staff. That's the current status as I know it.
Roger, may I ask you a question? Did you distinguish between someone who, as Kathy pointed out, someone who has residency in the mooring field versus guests to the mooring field?
Well, the way we interpreted that is if you have a lease that expired in March, I don't know how you're a resident per se of the mooring field. Council Hossafras explained to me that there may have been some confusion at a mooring field meeting.
So the 30 days.
With staff about that. They didn't feel that there was, but clearly we didn't check with every single person who watched that meeting to see if they were in fact confused. So, the abundance of caution to try to give everyone a say and give the council benefit of all historical feedback on the issue and people's perception that they do in fact live in the mooring field. I thought the safest thing to do was to set it at on an agenda, which it is on the printed agenda for April 6th.
Okay.
On either side of the issue, for example, people who are in RVs saying, why are you treating me differently? As well as the people in the mooring field would have a fair opportunity to react.
Okay. So it is set for the April 6th agenda.
It's on as a manager's item for April 6th.
I believe then that this discussion ends now and it's taken up on April 6th if it's already been advertised there. Does anybody else agree with that?
I certainly do.
I agree.
I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm okay too, if you're asking.
Hey, how do you feel? You okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine with that, thank you.
Okay. So now let's talk about beach raking. There has been a lot of discussion about beach raking. People are concerned about their property. I think that Ginger was probably accurate in considering that under landscaping and whatever. Roger, how do you feel about that?
Well, the position that we've taken is that we've been asking people to stay off the beach. And the beach is closed. And our staff has tried to educate individuals with respect to that, and where they seem to be coming from certain multifamily properties to educate the management of that building to that respect. I think that this has the potential to be an inducement to gain their cooperation. That if the building itself is doing a good job in educating their guests with respect to the policy that this town council placed, that we should consider to allow them to have that property raked. People are ignoring us. Perhaps we should not.
John, may I ask you the question? Would you include beach raking under the landscaper contractor provision?
If that's one of the normal functions that company does for that property owner under their contract, yes.
So since that has been listed, enumerated in the governor's order as an essential service from Homeland Security, would you count it? I mean, I agree with, I understand Roger's point of view, but I think it's maybe a little more black and white, if they're allowed, if they're not allowed. I don't know.
Well, I think we're talking about, and we're not talking about recreational people walking back and forth. They're providing a service.
They're in a tractor. Correct.
Correct. They're providing a service, a function that is specifically exempt or declared to be an essential service. I don't see that there's a conflict between that and the previous order that the council approved, prohibiting people on the beach.
Okay.
And if it's landscaping, then it is the governor's definition of essential service, and we cannot veto that.
I thought what the governor said was that we were allowed to make orders that.
That is correct.
His. So
That's correct.
Our no people on the beach order trumps that. I'm in favor, but I think we need to make a specific exemption to our allowing people on the beach order in order to accomplish that goal. And the one thing I would add to this is that if they don't
Did everybody hear that?
Yes, it was awful.
Okay.
If they do not rake, the weeds start to grow, and then they will be forced to use chemicals later on, which we are trying to avoid using. So I'm in favor of allowing them to rake to keep us from having to use chemicals to clear the weeds off the beach in the future. But I do think we need to make an exception to our order.
Madam Mayor, may I?
Yes, Joanne. Who has background noise going on? Somebody? Okay, Joanne?
The town has a list of the properties and the rakers, and I think that we can refer to that, saying the existing licensed rakers and properties can perform their once monthly services, landscape services on the beach. And that would be, that's not people out hand raking, that's not whatever. That's the commercial providers who already have the contracts listed with the town.
I'm fine with that.
That would be fine.
Does that require any kind of amendment?
I think it does, John.
As we're talking, I'm trying to pull up the previous the order to see if they can be reconciled without the need for an amendment.
Thank you. You go
so
ahead and look at that. I'm going to.
While he's doing that, Madam Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'm sure you all would want to make sure that if you move in that direction, that all of those people operate in concert with their permitting with respect to turtle season is about to be here.
Yes.
So to the extent that you state a policy, as John looks that up, that you incorporate that aspect into it.
And I have a related issue while John's looking that up. I received a question, I think maybe all of us did, from Eve about whether the Turtle Time volunteers were going to be permitted on the beach. I forwarded to John, who answered that he thought her question had already been answered by Roger. I sent that to her and she said no. She had not received any answer from Roger. They have a permit to start looking for turtle nests on April 15th. And they're searching for permission, as it were, that they can do their jobs.
Roger?
Yes, they didn't communicate directly with me. People who've asked me about that, I've told them that if Turtle Time represents the town. It's no different from my point of view than having a base employee on the beach. What we try to communicate back to people who've reached out to us so that if they're identified as a Turtle Time employee by virtue of a T-shirt or uniform or something official, that we will recognize them as such.
Okay, well, Eve is in charge of Turtle Time and it wasn't communicated to her, but I will make sure she knows.
Could we ask Eve to provide the list of the her volunteers and just sort of a basic schedule of what to expect, is just have that on the record with the town?
Yes, that was exactly what I was.
I don't know that I really need that, to be honest with you. If they're wearing a Turtle Time shirt, we assume that she goes out to only her.
So the important thing that Joanne is raising is that we need to have people identified who are going to be part of the Turtle Time exercise. You can't just put on a Turtle Time T-shirt and go, well. So Roger, would you please work with Eve to accomplish some sort of uniform task of here are our volunteers, here's what they're going to be doing and at what times.
We could issue.
Wait, please, could somebody listen to me? I've gone out with them. The Turtle Time volunteer, as Roger indicated, goes with a town employee. So we don't need to have a list of names.
Okay.
It's going to be the person who's with the town employee, with Chad or whoever is doing the patrol.
Okay.
That's great. That's great, Roxanne, but the message is right the second, without clarifying it like that, is that Turtle Time volunteers can go on the beach, and that's not the case. We don't want to say that. So that's why we need Eve to kind of just clarify it with her volunteers, okay?
Just to be clear, this is to do This is not opening the beach to anybody. This is for Turtle Time to do their job. They volunteer
With town staff.
on behalf of the town. They do it, as Roxanne said, with the town employee.
Thank you. Okay,
Excuse me.
so, yes, Greg?
Excuse me. That's how that works? Every Turtle Time walker that's out there in the morning has a town employee with them? Is that what I'm understanding?
Not every single time. There's no such thing as every single time for anything.
No.
That's coordinated with town staff, and they're on the beach with them, not necessarily side by side with them.
Okay.
Are we all clear
Someone's running
on
up and
Turtle
down the
Time?
beach. Yeah, okay.
We're all clear on Turtle Time? There's been another question asked, Roger, about how will Monday's meeting is going to be virtual. How are the new council members being sworn in?
Virtually.
Virtually, excellent. Okay.
They will come in and sign the oath of office.
I think people should know that what actually makes them official council members is the certification of the election, not just the swearing in. So, okay, I'm going to go one by one now to see if anybody else has any issues. Vice Mayor Murphy?
No issues.
No issues. Bruce, anything?
Nothing.
Roxanne?
Yes. Do we need to do something about making sure that fines that are tolling as a result of a magistrate's order on a daily basis are suspended until further notice? So that later on the council does not have to deal with all of these coming back asking for relief?
That's a good question. Roger,
Yes, ma'am.
you want to answer Roxanne's question?
Well, so for example, if it's I don't know what case or cases she's thinking about.
I'm not thinking about any particular case. I'm thinking of
So
all
it's,
cases.
okay, so if you have someone who's built something without a permit that they can come in today and get a permit for to fix and could fix, we want to let that situation continue or not. No, I think that if you want to stop them all, that's of course the council's prerogative. I think some of them, I think we do want that inducement for timely compliance even within these times. But we can be selective on that if that's what you would like us to do.
My understanding is we're supposed to be discouraging in-person contact between people. So if they're hiring a contractor to come and work on their property, we're not discouraging in-person contact.
For whatever it's worth, I understand and I appreciate that, the Councilmember Hosfrost's comments. I will point out that again, and here's where there's internal inconsistencies between what the federal government and the state and the governor are doing, is that contractors are considered to be an essential service and they can continue.
I know they can continue, but do we want them having person-to-person contact with folks in their homes?
Well, that's up to each individual contractor and each individual homeowner. I'm just saying what's out. It's a council policy, and we'll implement it.
Roxanne, anything else?
Well, what I'm saying is, then we're telling people we're going to continue to fine you every day if you're a person who, say, is immune compromised, or any person. We're discouraging people-to-people contact. So we're going to say, you will have to come in contact with contractors or we're going to fine you. That's in essence what we're saying.
I'm not saying that. I am simply, and I reiterate what the manager says. If you all want to direct staff, we will put forward to the special magistrate at the next available meeting a blanket order asking her to enter an order that at the council's direction to suspend any fines that otherwise would have accrued during the time frame that this pandemic emergency is and social distancing is required.
I would agree with that. I think it should be effective from the date of our first emergency declaration. Anybody else agree with that? Roxanne, do you agree with that?
Of course, yes.
Is there anyone else that agrees with that? Bruce?
What do we do with any new violations?
You can toll a violation. We're talking about the time clock ticking.
If someone violates something today, is fine or not ticking?
I'm talking about the cases that already have an order on that are currently tolling a daily fine.
Okay.
I would agree with that. If they have no recourse to meet with a magistrate and solve things, it's a complicated time. I'd give them a break.
There's the direction. Okay. Roxanne, anything else?
Oh, thank you.
Bruce, I already asked you. Joanne, do you have anything further?
No, I'm good. Thank you, everybody.
Madam
Okay.
Chair, I have
Yes.
one that I thought of.
Go ahead,
I
Ray.
received a call from a property owner in town that had a question. If they have shut down their water for their property, their facility, can they get relief? Now, I'm not asking. This is this person asking. Can they get relief on their bill from any town charges as for not using the water service, the water and sewer? That was the question. Roger, I suppose.
Roger?
Yes, ma'am. No, our current policy is that they don't pay for their actual gallonage, but they pay the other costs.
Say that again, Roger. I didn't hear that quite well.
They do not pay for the gallonage, but they pay for the other costs.
Okay.
The long-standing practice of this town's utility and many others.
Okay. There's the answer. Thank you. That's it.
Okay, thank you all.
Mayor?
Yes, sir, could I just say something?
Oh, I'm
Maybe
sorry, I
what you're getting
apologize.
ready to say is our emergency declaration number 3 is superseded by the governor's order because his is more restrictive. His stay in place is an order. Ours was a request. Is that where you were going, John?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so we don't need to do anything with that one. Is that accurate, John? John, is that correct?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
We don't need to do anything with our number 3 declaration because the governor supersedes us.
Yeah, I just for purposes of cleanliness, I would make that you may take a vote to rescind number 3.
Thank you. May I have a motion to rescind declaration of emergency regulations number 3? Motion by Mr. Butcher, seconded by Vice Mayor Murphy. Is there any discussion? Is there any public? There's not going to be any public comment on that. May I make that call that this is the governor's, so that's nothing that anyone can comment on because we have to do that. The maker of the motion, Bruce, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Mr. Murphy?
Aye.
Joanne?
Aye.
Roxanne?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. That carries unanimously. Now, I'd like to ask for any final public comment. Michelle, have you received any emails? I know some people were trying to email because they couldn't connect. Have you received anything, Michelle?
Mayor, I received 2 emails, both from the Mr. and Mrs. Morris, who have spoken.
Okay. Nobody else?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Amy, do we have anybody in the waiting room? If we do, okay. Let's unmute Jackie Lisak. Jackie Lisak, can you hear us? Jackie Lisak? Jackie Lesak. Jackie Lesak. Okay. Matt Love is not here for commentary. Thank you all for your comments. If there is nothing from anyone else,
I move to adjourn the meeting, Madam Chair.
there's a motion to adjourn.
Madam Mayor?
Yes. Sir, may I get a second?
I was just checking my phone messages because I wanted to make sure someone wasn't trying to reach me about something that you covered in today's meeting. And I did have a message from Amy Lowry that said that on the question of the person who is trying to extend their stay, that they were informed by the property manager prior to our declaration of emergency actions that their stay couldn't be extended.
Thank you, Roger. There's a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. It is 12:57. No discussion. We stand adjourned until we stand adjourned, period. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your time.
Stay home and stay well.
Thank you.
Yeah.